Hello again, I'm Brian Malow, coming to you live from the 72nd Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting in beautiful Lindau, Germany. And this year we have about 40 Nobel laureates and about 600 young scientists from 89 nations. And I'm speaking with one of them right now, Louise Druedahl. Yes, from Denmark. And what kind of scientist are you?
So I'm one of those kind of scientists that started out in pharmacy. So I come from a very natural science background. But then I started to realize that I actually wanted to move a bit more closer to medicines and society. So what I'm actually doing right now is using my science background to inform on regulation of medicines in particular, but also using it for AI, regulation of AI.
So AI is one of the extra themes for the meeting this year. The meetings in Lindau cycle through the sciences, the Nobel Prize sciences. So there will be a physics meeting next year, then a chemistry meeting, and then again, like this year, medicine and physiology. So within that, we have some sub-themes this year of diversity, AI, and climate change.
Yes.
So you have this. So you've already been interested in AI and the regulation of AI.
Yeah. Yes, I have, and I've also done some work on it in a postdoc. So what I think we are, at least from the regulatory perspective, what we're seeing is that we're not really there yet. We don't exactly know how we should regulate it. We're typically focused on regulating on products so that we ensure they have a high quality, safety, and efficacy. But how do we really ensure that we have like the same measurements that we used to do, but in a completely new context? For example, with like self-learning AI, how do we know when the efficacy changes?
Yeah. So are you very critical of AI, or are you excited about the possibilities, but you also see the need for regulation?
Yeah, so I think like so many others, I'm thrilled about the prospects, the developments. It's kind of a bit of mind-blowing what's possible to do and what is already ongoing. Like we heard from the Heidelberg lecture yesterday. And I think while there's so many prospects, I think we need to remember not being too blind by our enthusiasm, but that we also consider how these systems will be used in practice, what it is that the consequences of them will be going forward, like for example with diversity.
You know, interestingly, before I came to this meeting, obviously AI has all sorts of possibilities that we've been discussing, like self-driving cars, but I'm a comedian and artist. I have a lot of artist friends, so a lot of the issues have been about training models on copyrighted material without permission, and is this art, and problems with education, and so to come here and all of a sudden see that the main thing is like a million topics about how AI can be used in medicine, what are some of I only have this sense of like the ability to see things in X-rays or other forms of imaging that aren't obvious to the human eye.
Yeah, I think one example we heard about yesterday that I hadn't heard about before, I thought it was super fascinating, was that actually there's ongoing developments of how we can use our smartphone's flashlight to detect hemoglobin in the blood. Like, what a cool application. So many persons in the world have a smartphone. This is some application that might be super relevant. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that this data is also then distributed to the right persons and not being combined or collected only in one entity, as far as I see it.
So before you sort of got into regulatory stuff, tell me more about your science. Did you always know you wanted to be a scientist in this sort of pharmacy area?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think I don't think I was so conscious at the time, but I've always been super fascinated by nature and by chemistry in particular. I loved chemistry in like elementary school, and I was not very popular for it, but I just loved it. And
what do you love about it?
The simplicity, the way it makes everything like combine. It explains what we see, what we do, the materials. It's just everything is just chemistry. And I think that was really what and then I got an advice when I was in high school because I had so like the low level of chemistry, because everybody starts out with that in high school in Denmark, and I just felt like there was something about it, and I asked him, like my then teacher, and he said it only gets better. So I chose it on the high level, it's called, and I just got just so into it and just so fascinated by it but I also knew I wanted to help people and help like humans. And then I found out that pharmacy, that combines it, and at least in Denmark, it's more focused on pharmacology, biochemistry, chemistry, physics, and so on.
Excellent. Is there something that you wish more people understood about science?
I think that's a good question. I think I would love that people understood more that the scientific uncertainties are not uncertainties the way that most other people understand uncertainties. Because just because there's uncertainty about something doesn't mean there might be a relation. It might just or a correlation between things. It might just be that we are not certain enough of it yet to say it with certainty, like with scientific certainty.
Yeah, that's good.
And yeah, I think that would be nice. I think just that's also what we found in the pandemic, and so I think there was a lot of science communication that maybe didn't go so well as I would have hoped it did.
And this could be in your science or broader. Is there a question you most want the answer to?
Ooh, that's a good question as well. I think. Can we take another one, and then I will just have a thought about it?
We don't even need that one. Let's talk about the meeting a little bit. And so, because of the pandemic, a lot of the people I've talked to this year were originally supposed to come in 2020 or 2021, and they're finally here. What was your situation? Did you participate in any of the virtual stuff?
Yes, I did. So I was invited for the 2020 meeting as well. I must admit, it was I think it's probably the best online experience I had of a conference or a meeting, but it just doesn't match what you experience in real life.
Yeah. Tell me about one of the highlights from the 2020 experience.
Yeah, so there
Louise.
there was a lot of them. So one of them was actually one of your things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was that I learned a lot about how you communicate well using video presentations. I didn't know anything about that. It was really useful during the lockdowns and so on. But also another highlight for me at the time was that I participated in an open exchange with Professor Elizabeth Blackburn, and I asked her about competition and sometimes a competitive mindset in science and how one should deal with that as a young scientist. And I still remember her reply because I liked it a lot and it could really resonate with me, which is that, well, we know, I mean, the PIs, the general, it's not an advantage to be competitive and not helping others. The ones that get furthest are the ones that want to help others, help educate others, inspire and share their knowledge. Those are the scientists that succeed. At least that was what her message to me was when I asked her.
Yeah, she's great. And a couple days ago I spoke to another laureate, Michael Young, and as is often the case, he shared his Nobel Prize with two other competitors, but they were competitors who ended up collaborating. So they cooperated. You're cooperating with a competitor. There's this part of you that you want to get there first, but it was through their cooperation that they all ended up sharing the Nobel Prize. Yeah. And it was better for everyone. Yeah, very interesting.
Sounds like a win-win.
So you're here and it's fabulous and interesting. So we had the opening ceremony on Sunday and a couple sessions, Monday, Tuesday. Is today Wednesday or Thursday? What day is it? Is it already Thursday?
It is. Unfortunately, it's already Thursday. But I actually had to ask myself that question this morning about what day it was because I couldn't really remember. That's also because you're so here. Like, it's just so embedding that you don't really notice what day it is because you're just here.
Yeah, very full days. You don't want to miss anything. But so tell me about some of the highlights you've experienced here this week.
So I think there's been multiple, and it depends a little on what level, I guess, or maybe not level, but different kinds of experience and highlights. It's all from the international evening, which was focused on Indonesia. Learned a lot about cultural things from Indonesia. That was one aspect. but also just hearing Nobel laureates in their lectures, and particularly Agora talks, I've enjoyed so much because there's a bit more time for interaction and questions. And just see, like, having such brilliant young scientists and see Nobel laureates all around you. You can ask questions, scientific, non-scientific, also about this like softer skills needed in science. There's a lot of debate as well on this as well, and it's everything that comes together that just makes it so unique and inspiring beyond limits, really.
I want to say that, there's food and coffee cups being set up and stuff, and it may seem active behind us, but this is nothing. There's a session going on where almost everyone is in the session, but there are always a little bit of going on out here. There's probably some people playing ping pong outside and walking around. You have some mobility issues. How's the meeting been for that? And we talked about this a little before. I guess, what is the nature of your disability?
Yeah, to start with the first, then it's been really easy getting around here. I've been a bit more in contact, I think, with the organizers prior to the meeting due to this. But I've only been met with openness and really high willingness to make everything so like accessible for me and very inclusive. And to be honest, I've also been asked by the committee for the Nobel Laureate meeting about how I've been finding it, and received like business cards to read out afterwards, and I have any suggestions for improvements. So I only feel very well met with regards to that. So why it is that I use a wheelchair, that is because I have a muscular disease. It's one of those super duper rare diseases. So apparently there's a gene called fukutin, which I don't really know how to pronounce correctly in English. I have two SNPs, so two single base pairs that are mutated. They're just in the wrong place in the gene with regards to that. That's why it affects me. The thing is, the doctors were so happy because they got to publish a publication, because they hadn't heard about this particular gene mutation before. And the most obscure thing is that both of my parents are carriers without knowing it, because no one else has it. And why the fourth of a chance that they actually both give that DNA strain to me, I mean, statistically impossible, but here I am, so that's why.
This is very rare. You said you're the only person with this?
That's what I was been told. So mutation in this particular gene causes muscular diseases. It's the most, I've been told by my neurologist that it's the most frequent one in Japan, but outside Japan that there are only 24 cases. And the one that I have is the mildest of the 24, but that there hasn't been discovered anyone with this particular mutation. So I guess that makes it pretty rare.
And you mentioned through childhood, this has been progressive, so you didn't start off in a wheelchair.
No. So at the time that I was told that you have a muscular disease, I was 14, and I was doing karate, I played badminton. It was a bit difficult to relate to as 14-year-old, I can only say. But then it's slightly progressed. So last time I ran was when I was 20. I started using a wheelchair when I was 27. At that time I only used it outside, I was only walking inside. And now I use it the most of the time, and I'm 34.
Yeah. Do you think that I didn't ask you this before we talked,
but
has it informed your view of life and the meaning of life and appreciation of stuff? Or, I mean, you obviously haven't let it stop you become a professional in the field that you wanted to be in.
No, I think for me that's been I don't really think it's been a conscious decision, but it's a thing that I've been aware of due to others' reactions to my situation, which is that either you could let it stop yourself, or you can say, okay, I might not be able to do the things that you would normally do, but typically there's always a different route that you can find, and then you can do whatever it is that you want still.
Excellent.
That was another part of the question, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, if it viewed, that sounds like lunch soon coming.
That's okay.
And
we almost should invite them in, since they're in the stream already.
Yeah, but I think what I really find to be learning, what I've learned from it, is to really grasp the present, use all of the opportunities that you are being presented to, Or just if you have an idea, maybe I could go talk to this big shot because I have an idea and I want to hear his thoughts on it. Maybe I could get a spot in a lab. Maybe I can just get a contact and just do it because, I mean, what's amiss? Worst case, a person says, no, and you're on status quo anyway. And so I'm just like trying to, just live life to the fullest, like do things if you want to. It was actually what meant, so during my PhD, I had the privilege to go to Harvard Medical School. And after that, I saved a lot for it. Then I went on to Hawaii, just because I knew that they had wheelchair accessible helicopter tours. And that was like on my bucket list. I needed to do that. And I thought, I might not be able to do it in 10 years. I need to do it now. I think that's probably my take on it.
I really like some of what you said. I think of this quotation that's often, it's attributed to this hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And that has become very relevant in my career. There are things that I have a lot of ideas. I don't always act on them. I don't always I shy away from proposing or asking something. But the times that I've gone ahead and done it, and it worked out, I just think, wow, what if I hadn't asked? I almost didn't ask, and it happened. And it's like, I've told some of the people here, really don't be shy about approaching the Nobel laureates, because you don't understand. They want you to approach them. And I know you're a little shy about approaching a Nobel laureate, but don't be, because they're happy to talk to you.
Yes, that's only been my impression. And they also really tell it also quite directly sometimes that they were here too. They were also young scientists trying to find their way, and they are really offering their advices on all different sorts of things on how they made their way, and it's just beyond description inspiring.
Let me ask you just a couple final things about the meeting.
Yeah.
It's a very different kind of meeting. What will you tell your family and friends? Like, how would you describe this? What is the Lindau Nobel Laureate meeting?
Oh, I mean, in short terms, it's just the best scientific meeting you can imagine. I think to someone not in science, I would say that it's a meeting where you can really reflect, get inspired, but also inspiration, and you can share experiences, both your own, but also hear about others, about things that are challenging, things that are successes. You can share the joys, and that just you made a lot of networking with all different sorts of people, both in your own field, related fields, and that's just so unique. I think just some more with a science view. If you ever get the invite, accept it. That's the only thing I will probably.
Yeah.
It's so great.
I was going to ask you if there were any other highlights, and I wonder if one. I was talking to you when a laureate walked up.
Yes.
And he walked up and started a conversation with you and had his Nobel medal in his pocket.
Yes, that is definitely a highlight. I was so shocked. Are you one of our young scientists? I was like, oh, yeah, I am.
Who was that?
It was Kaylin. And now I have a picture holding the Nobel Prize medal. It's like, oh.
So I'm glad you're having fun.
I am.
And thank you very much for taking that. When there's so much going on, to take the time to talk to me.
Anytime, it was a
really
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
I hope someone could hopefully get inspired.
Yes, I'm sure someone will. And again, one of the extraordinary 600 young scientists here this week, and we'll be meeting more of them. Thank you.